Texas will play Oklahoma State in the Big 12 championship game, and the Longhorns now have an idea of what needs to happen if they want to slide in to the college football playoff. This is Three Thoughts on the Horse 24/7 YouTube channel. We're going to talk about all that and more today. Thanks for being here with us. Let's go ahead and start with the Big 12 championship game. Texas beats Texas Tech on Friday night 57-7 to lock up their spot, and Oklahoma State holds on against BYU 40-34 in double overtime for a date with the Longhorns in Arlington. So let's talk about the Cowboys. What are they all about offensively? Ollie Gordon, the running back, has exploded onto the scene after a somewhat quiet year last year. He's actually a Texas guy. Went to Euless Trinity High School in the Dallas area and was phenomenal up there for the Trojans. This season, he ran for 166 yards on 34 carries against BYU, not to mention 5 rushing touchdowns. On the season, he's got 245 carries for just over 1,500 yards and 20 rushing touchdowns. He's going to face a Texas defense that is number 4 in the country against the run. So really good battle. And early on, I think it's safe to say that that's where this game is going to be won. If Ollie Gordon can get the best of the Texas defense, which no running back this season has really been able to do, then you got to like Oklahoma State's chances to move the ball down the field and get into the end zone. But that's the Texas defense has been just that. They've been rock solid all year. Taj Brooks' third lowest rushing performance on Friday night. He was running all over everybody this season for Texas Tech, and they are able to limit him, and that's why Texas Tech only scored 7 points in that ball game. So if they stop Gordon and take him out of the equation, that means Alan Bowman is going to have to beat Texas with his arm if Oklahoma State wants to win that game. And I think the Longhorns are going to take that every single day of the week. He's thrown 11 interceptions compared to 10 touchdown passes this year. He threw 2 of those on Saturday night against BYU. Oklahoma State has a defensive unit ranked 112th out of 130 FBS teams in total defense. They're giving up an average of 423 yards per game. This is a Texas offense that has been firing on all cylinders. They were on Friday night. We'll talk about that a little bit more. So it really seems like if Ollie Gordon can be limited, the Longhorns have a pretty good shot. But again, we have to remember that, a lot of what I've just said makes it seem like this could be a pushover game for Texas. It's not whatsoever. It's the Big 12 championship game. It's going to be a huge game for the Longhorns, especially considering it's their last year in the conference and they want to end it on a good note and have the book notes where you win the first Big 12 championship and you win the last Big 12 championship too. But they're going up against a team in Oklahoma State that has completely turned their season around after losing to South Alabama in week 3. Now they go up against a team that's rolling, and Mike Gundy, who has had Texas's number in the past, he's been fairly well in his career at Oklahoma State against Texas. So it's not a game that can just automatically be thrown into the win column for the Longhorns. They're going to have to show up on Saturday morning. All right, now let's transition into Texas's college football playoff chances. They really needed a Florida State loss on Saturday night to help them out a little bit, but the Seminoles hold off a strong start from Florida in the first half. They win it 24-15. So a lot of their hopes to slide into the playoff now rest on the shoulders of Jeff Brom and Louisville this coming Saturday in the ACC championship game, kicking off at 7 p.m. So if the Longhorns win it, they're going to have to keep a close eye on that nightcap between the Cardinals and the Seminoles. So Alabama now continues to hang around after, I'm trying to find the right word to describe what 4th and 31 or 4th and goal from the 31 is. I would just say miraculous victory in the Iron Bowl, but miracles don't happen in the Iron Bowl. That's just regular Iron Bowl stuff, right? So Jalen Milroe hits Isaiah Bond in the corner of the end zone on one of the better plays you'll see all season. Just a fantastic play. And now Alabama remains a one-loss team. And there's the argument, not necessarily a correct one. I'm just saying there's the argument between, well, if Texas makes the Big 12 championship game, they win it, and Alabama beats Georgia in the SEC championship game, those are your 2 one-loss teams. If there's one spot left, who do you put in? Well, Texas has the head-to-head matchup, but some argue that Alabama has played better and beaten better teams down the stretch. So that's going to be a tough argument for the College Football Playoff Committee to handle, but you feel like the head-to-head has to matter. Otherwise, why even schedule a team like Alabama in week 2? So we'll kind of cross that bridge when we get there. But the Crimson Tide hanging around after a big win at Auburn. And, the best case for Texas in the Pac-12 championship game is Washington coming in and defeating Oregon once again, because that would make Oregon a two-loss team, which clears the path currently, at least, in front of them. Obviously, Oregon in that number 6 spot right now. The committee will release their new rankings on Tuesday. So Texas really could go as high as 5. Maybe they go to 6, or they stay at 7. All three seem like realistic possibilities, but we'll kind of see what happens there. And then following the game with Michigan defeating Ohio State for the third straight season, I find it really difficult for Ohio State to stay somewhere in the top 4. So barring a stunning loss to Iowa, Michigan has all but punched their ticket to the playoff. And I think Ohio State is kind of out of the picture now in the college football playoff. So all this to say that this coming Saturday, championship game Saturday, and Friday too is the Pac-12 championship game. Texas fans should root for, of course, Texas to win. That's going to be the biggest part. If Texas wins, everything that I'm talking about goes out the window. They're not in the playoff if they lose the Big 12 championship game. So a Texas win, convincing win, would certainly help them. Florida State to lose to Louisville in the ACC championship game. That's going to be the biggest domino for the Longhorns. Georgia defeats Alabama in the SEC title and does not force a one-loss team argument. And Washington defeats Oregon again to make the Ducks a two-loss team. So if all those things happen, I can see the playoff shaking out as Georgia number 1, Michigan number 2, Washington 3, and then Texas gets that final spot at 4. So that's what you should be rooting for this coming week in championship weekend. All right, and last but not least, we're going to go over just some quick takeaways from Texas's win over Texas Tech. I think the Texas defense played one of, if not their most aggressive game of the season, and it's the perfect time to start doing that as you head into the end of the year. If Texas does make the playoff and they want to make a push, their defense is going to have to win them games against tougher teams like Georgia, Michigan, Washington, the 3 that I just mentioned in the would-be scenario above. So it's good that they're coming on at the right time, and they played fantastic. They get 3 interceptions on Baron Morton, held him to just 88 yards through the air, and 3 sacks and 3 tackles for loss. So the up front for Texas defensively has been solid all season. It's really been the secondary that you've had questions about. They had a great night on Friday. Taj Brooks had 400-yard games coming into tonight. 4-game streak, excuse me. He had plenty more during the season, but 4 straight 100-yard rushing games. They hold him to 95, as I mentioned earlier. That's his 3rd lowest total of the season. So a good showing once again from the Texas run defense. And then on the flip side, they pounded the rock on the ground. 302 yards and 3 touchdowns as a unit. Jaden Blue comes in and leads the charge with 121 yards and a touchdown. Cedric Baxter, a little bit banged up in that game, so he was a little bit limited. But nonetheless, the other guys certainly picked it up for him. Trey Wisner had a really nice touchdown at the end, as I think he ran really well. Obviously, garbage time, but he played really well down the stretch and had a touchdown that got Tashard Choice and the rest of the Texas sidelines really fired up. He's been a special teams ace all season, but he ran the ball really well Friday night too. And then back-to-back games for the Longhorns with strong second halves. They scored 24 in the third quarter and 31 in the second half entirely to kind of push this game out of Texas Tech's reach. And of course, the story that's going to take everybody's attention, Arch Manning comes into the game and gets his first experience. People wonder why it wasn't Malik Murphy. Well, some friendly fire on the Keelan Robinson touchdown return. He actually got hit on the sidelines and hurt his non-throwing shoulder. So an unfortunate miss there for Malik Murphy, but it provides Arch Manning with an opportunity to get his first playing experience. He completed a few passes and ran the ball pretty well. So good experience there for Arch Manning. And now Texas's focus shifts to Arlington, where their goal has been all season to win a Big 12 championship game. That game will kick off at AT&T Stadium Saturday, 11 a.m. That's going to do it here for 3 Thoughts on the Horns 24/7 YouTube channel. I want to thank you so much for joining us today. As always, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications so you're the first to know when new content heads your way. We're going to have some really good stuff coming your way for Big 12 championship week and beyond. Again, thanks for joining us. For the rest of the crew, I'm Tommy Yarrish. Have a wonderful rest of your day.